Margaret Ann Windsor, and that's the name, my real name, and I have to use the name Peggy Ann Dempsey. I married a Childers. I was kidnapped from Buckingham Palace in 41, born in 39, brought to Moulton, Alabama, Lawrence County, and put on what amounts to be a pigsty. It was a horrid existence. The twins, Peggy and Carl, were murdered by their mother. They were born out of wedlock. And if I'm redundant, some of my tapes haven't gone up video, so I'm doing them again, and I'll be a bit redundant here. But anyway, twins has to do, I wrote a book later about mind control before I found out about my kidnapping. And my title, I'm Victoria the Second, the legal heir to the British Crown. And my father, Edward VIII, was forced out, and it's been nothing but lies that was told about him. He was a decent, good man. He never married this woman, Wallace Simpson. A double did. And this is my Aunt Georgia O'Keeffe, the artist. My mom is her sister, Claudia Ruth, that was married to my father, the real King of England. Now, this is Elizabeth Illegal that should be in a court held accountable in a world court, except she's part of the Freemason Illuminati that kidnapped me. So they control the world court, so fat chance there, right? Charles is also a member. This is my dad again. And this is my Uncle George in 39 planning my kidnapping with Roosevelt. He's at Hyde Park at the White House in a rocking chair. How's that? This is supposed to be the Queen Mom. She's not. My mother is, but most people don't even know who she is. She is related to the Rothschilds, Elizabeth Bowes. She's Elizabeth's mother, and George, the illegal monarch's wife. Roosevelt appointed Joe Kennedy ambassador to England, 36 till he was kicked out in 46. He and his sons, JFK, and that's the Warren Commission and why it's covered up. Mind control was used in that, and the Martin Luther King. And by the way, Atlanta, that's where I lived for a long time, and I did the medical malpractice book on mind control. And I don't want to get too much into that because I want to read the letters and how it relates to the mind control that I've been putting on here and my kidnapping. So Joe Kennedy was ambassador to England, and he helped in my kidnapping. I wrote a book in 76 to April Fool Day of 80 because they put antifreeze in me, and it's unpublished. And that's just one episode out of my life where they have literally destroyed me. Every crime in the book. I have no civil rights. So, yes, Mrs. King, Mr. King knew about me. Andrew Young was ambassador to the UN, appointed by Jimmy Carter. Yes, he certainly knew about me. I was in his office later, and no, they would not speak to me. They sent somebody outside of Mrs. King's office downtown, and you should see the condition I was in. And he told me, yes, we know about mind control, and he brought up Rhodesia, et cetera, et cetera. I didn't know what he meant. I didn't know I was heir to the British Crown until 83, and my real name. And Africa, Rhodesia, et cetera, was part of the British colonies. So now then, Larry Flint was shot while I was doing the book. He wrote this article, and I was flown out there in a campaign to replace one of the doctors I wrote about, Larry McDonald, who doctor congressman, and his plane was shot down when it veered into Russian airspace August the 31st of 83. Now, I want to show this, and I've wrote about the mind control murders, and I'm sorry that I can't be, I'm afraid this is going to go out before I get it told. This is me, a long time ago, obviously, heir to the crown. My son Mark, firstborn, and then Scott, heirs. Now then, these were done in patterns, the murders, and deliberately done. I had a letter from U.S. Attorney, FBI, in June the 23rd of 79. I thought it was because of the book. It said ongoing investigation, national security involved. Then I found out later, after all these, well, it was ongoing horrific crimes. But I was telling about mind control, modifying behavior, programming people to kill, shoot. This is one that was done in pattern, and they were deliberately done because mind control is invisible and hard to prove. This is Mark Kelly, and his brother is Scott Kelly. My son's names are Mark and Scott, and they're both astronauts. So you get into NASA is near where I was taken when I was kidnapped. Who do you think financed NASA and had von Braun brought over? So my hostage taking and illegal treaties has torn down Great Britain and built this country up. And this is Gabby Gifford, his wife, who was a U.S. Congresswoman, and that's the the Tucson, Arizona mass killings. It's gone so far by now that they can, it's much easier, they can program, well, mass armies. So that's where it's at. Edward Snowden, tipped the iceberg only. This is just a couple of the murders to show you. James Holmes is being treated for mental illness. He's a victim of mind control. Mind control has nothing to do with mental illness. This is a Fort Hood shooter. He's a psychiatrist, and he finished school at Virginia Tech, next door to me, where the 33 shootings happened that were done in patterns, April the 16th of '07. Now, I want to read this from Jack. They brought me to Moulton, Alabama, and I'm going to let you do your own thinking here, put it together. After all, it was the guts of the U.S. space program, the home of anti-ballistic missile research projects, the location where every Army tactical missile system field anywhere in the free world was managed, and where J. Edgar Hoover's FBI Division 5, a super-secret police agency, had operated since the early 40s. Remember, they brought me to Moulton, Alabama, and this is when NASA began in the early 50s, and you can put it together. In fact, it was so sensitive that it did not exist, with links to Washington, D.C., etc. Now then, I want to go on here. One such way was through a program called MK Ultra, a mind control, mind altering research project with the Central Intelligence Agency. At the time, had been dabbling, in, I'm trying to get this on this video and hope it makes sense. I know it does, but still another program tied to the research effort called Psychotronics in the U.S. and formerly called Psychotectronics by the later defunct Soviet Union, was pursued using electronic frequencies, low-level frequencies. In some cases, is what is called brain wave entrainment. You could even do it with ham sets years ago. Well, you still can. The concept can implant fear, lethargy, manic moods, even deep depression, unexplained paranoia. A gentleman named Nikolai Tesla was researching psychotronics as far back as the 30s, and the FBI were the ones that got a hold of his files. Now then, if I'm making this sound like the FBI are all the bad guys, no, it's the people that knew this. I could not get anyone over all these years knew about my kidnapping, me telling about mind control and who did it, and the murders. And by the way, Elvis Presley was one of them. You can create an illness and cure it, and you can make people, you modify their behavior, the decision-making. They're puppets. So I wanted to finish it here. In quiet moments, I try to make a grounded assessment of all the above. If the dastardly events above, particularly as related to the FBI's Division 5 and assorted shenanigans, were public, what would be the results? It could perhaps be very destabilizing for the nation as a whole. The Huntsville experiments, the